You're in the right place if you use Claude Chat every day and you've heard of Claude Cowork, but you've never figured out why you need it and how to make the most of it. In the next minutes, you'll get 7 things. 3 setup steps, 3 daily workflows, and 1 feature that turns Cowork into autopilot. Essentially everything you need to become more advanced than 90% of users. Claude Cowork is Claude, but with hands on your files. You give it permission to a folder. It reads what's there, it edits, summarizes, organizes, drafts, all inside the desktop app. No code needed. There are 3 things that make Cowork different from Claude Chat. 1, it sees your files directly, so no uploading. 2, it modifies them in place. Files on your disk really get updated. 3, it remembers context per folder, and that's basically the biggest gap between Chat and Cowork. One quick note, Claude also has code. This is basically a version for coders or more advanced users. Cowork is the same idea, but for people who work with documents instead of code. So if your day is in files and meetings, Cowork is more than enough for you. Step 1, download the Claude desktop app. Then sign in, switch to Cowork mode. One thing to check before you start, you need Claude Pro, Max, Team or Enterprise. Unfortunately, free tier doesn't get Cowork, so you need to sort that out first. Step 2, pick your folder. Don't pick your whole home folder, that's gonna be too much, so pick something specific. Here's the setup I recommend. You make a Cowork folder in your home directory, 1 subfolder per project, 1 general inbox for one-off tasks, and always allow means that you won't get re-asked if Claude Cowork can edit files in this specific folder. Step 3, first task. I'll just ask it to read the folder and pull out the action items. And now you see it's reading all the documents in the folder. Alright, now I get every action item, every owner, every date, across all the files in there. Now the actual work. 3 things I do with Cowork every day. But before, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next Claude tutorial. Cowork reads my emails and sorts the last 15. For the ones that need a reply, Cowork drafts it in my voice and very concise. Here's where Cowork beats Chat. It saves the whole categorized inbox to a markdown file in my notes folder. I can search my email history, see patterns over weeks, and plus this runs on a schedule, so every morning at 7 AM before I'm awake. Chat cannot do that. Check yourself each draft before you hit send, because Cowork, it matches the tone, but unfortunately it doesn't have all the context that you have. Second, receipts. Every month I just have a pile: meals, subscriptions, travel. The expense report is the worst part of my month and Cowork does it for me. So I drop everything into one folder: PDFs from my email, photos from my phone, screenshots, just doesn't matter what format. Then I ask Cowork to build me the spreadsheet. Cowork reads every receipt: vendor, date, amount, category. It builds an Excel with a row for each one and totals at the bottom. And while in Chat there is a limit of 20 files per conversation or so, there is no such limit in Cowork. Number 3, if there is a project that runs for weeks, I use Claude Cowork projects. A Cowork project is just a folder on your computer with a name and instructions that Cowork remembers. So you can drop your files in, and Cowork applies the same rules every time, like tone, format, conventions. Of course, Chat has projects too. But the difference is that in Chat projects you upload every doc manually, and in Cowork the project is basically your folder. So I can drag a new spec in and Cowork sees it. So no re-uploading, and the work compounds over weeks. So I ask Cowork to read the whole project folder, summarize the latest PRD, which is a product requirement document, flag where it conflicts with the other 3 specs, so 5 clean bullets plus what I should push back on, and it just takes a couple of minutes in total for what used to take an hour. Another important thing on sensitive stuff. So Cowork sends files to the cloud, so please check your company policy before pointing it at anything confidential. Alright, that was 3 workflows, and now the thing that turns Cowork from an assistant into autopilot. All 3 workflows you just saw, they only run when I ask. But Cowork can also run in the background. So as long as the app is open, it can do work on a schedule. And that's called schedules. Let me set up a Monday morning brief. So every Sunday at 9 PM, while my machine is on, Cowork reads the files I touched last week, my calendar, and my active projects. And it writes me a brief. 3 sections: where I left off, what's coming up, and top 5 things to prioritize. And it saves it to my notes folder. So I just set it once, and by Monday morning the brief is in my folder. So fortunately with Claude Cowork, quite some time of my Monday planning is now gone. And one more thing, Cowork now syncs with my phone. So it's gonna be the same thread but just different device. So, for example, I can ask Cowork for the brief from the train, and the results will be waiting on my desktop when I'm back. So you can set a task on a morning walk and it's gonna be there by the time you sit down. So, quick recap, let's start with the biggest mistakes. Number 1, granting whole home access. Just pick one folder. Number 2 is approving edits without reading, and number 3, pointing at the wrong folder. If you followed along, you now know Claude Cowork better than 90% of people. You know how to set it up, you've got some inspiration from my daily workflows, you know how to automate things. And also you know some of the most common mistakes to avoid. And you'll figure out the rest by actually using it. I've put some of my actual Cowork workflows in a document, for example for my inbox, for my daily routine and more. You can find the link in the description below, just take them for some inspiration. Just pick one and try it next week, but before, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next Claude tutorial.